Was Deng Shintong's death a conspiracy by Zhu Zheng? After Yang Xinxin sorted out the whole situation, she immediately analyzed it for Zhang Yi. Brother, have you ever thought about why Zhu Zheng is so eager for you to become the captain of the Heavenly Dog Squad? Zhang Yi naturally understood, because my abilities can help them deal with Eclipsed Moon. Yang Xinxin nodded. That is indeed one reason, but their goal of getting rid of Deng Shintong has already been achieved. Next, their target is naturally to eliminate the Eclipsed Moon group, and the person leading the team must not only have a certain level of strength but also possess one key trait, someone who does not threaten the power of the higher-ups. After all, if Eclipsed Moon is defeated at this juncture and the honor of River South Domain and even Country Hua is restored, that person's reputation will skyrocket to an unimaginable level, possibly becoming Zhu Zheng's successor. Meanwhile, in Blizzard City, multiple factions restrain each other, and no one wants others to monopolize this achievement. That's why they pushed an outsider like me, a mutant from the outer city, to the forefront. Since I have no foundation in Blizzard City, even if I complete the mission, I won't threaten anyone's power. Zhang Yi immediately understood. So that's how it is. This is really a muddy situation to wade into. But Yang Xinxin said, however, brother, you don't need to worry too much. In my opinion, you are actually the safest person right now, because only with you as the captain of the Heavenly Dog Squad can Blizzard City maintain a relative balance. The major factions will tacitly reach a consensus and won't play any tricks behind the scenes. Zhang Yi shrugged. Anyway, I've already made up my mind. This mission is indeed very dangerous. If things go south, I'll just slip away. Staying alive is the priority. Yang Xinxin smiled mysteriously. If brother is worried, then take me with you this time. I'm a mutant now too, and I can help you with planning and strategies. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Yi said, you've never been on a battlefield before. A battlefield is a place where people die. I can't guarantee I'll always be there to protect you. But Yang Xinxin responded seriously. Xinxin won't be a burden to brother. Besides, this time you'll have your own people with you, so it should be safer, right? Uncle Yu also agreed. That's right, Zhang Yi. Those guys from Blizzard City aren't necessarily reliable. It's better to use our own people. Let me go with you too. Zhang Yi quickly waved his hand. Stop joking. This opponent is no joke. Even Blizzard City carefully selected elite fighters for this battle. If you guys go, you'll just be throwing your lives away. Let's eat first. However, deep down, Zhang Yi also felt that having Yang Xinxin by his side would indeed be beneficial. After all, her intelligence and emotional quotient were both top tier. Late at night, Zhang Yi quietly arrived at Yang Xinxin's room. Yang Xinxin sat at the edge of the bed and smiled. I knew you would come looking for me, brother. Zhang Yi pulled out two pistols from his dimensional space. This is your own choice. There'll be no turning back later. These two pistols have low recoil, so you should be able to handle them. One of them is loaded with origin bullets, which can be used against mutants, while the other is a regular pistol for dealing with ordinary people. Yang Xinxin skillfully played with the pistol, which surprised Zhang Yi. Looks like you've been secretly practicing your shooting skills all along. You've been planning this for a while. When we arrive at Blizzard City, I'll first get you a suitable battle suit. At that time, Flower will be responsible for your safety. The next morning, Zhang Yi called the leaders of several major base factions to his home and gave them a rough briefing on the plan to eliminate Eclipsed Moon. The three of them turned pale. Zhang Yi warned, it's good that you're scared. From now on, stay put in the base and don't act recklessly. As he spoke, he turned to look at Chen Jingguan, especially you. The enemy is most likely to launch their attack from the sea, so you must keep a close watch on your side. Coastal City has been wiped out, and River Serenity City is in ruins. I don't want Heavenly Sea City to follow the same fate, so you all must be extra careful. The three of them nodded vigorously. The situation in Blizzard City was becoming more delicate. Almost everyone in the city believed that Gao Changkong was destined to be the leader of the Third Encirclement campaign. At this time, the Reincarnation Squad had become the beacon of hope for many, and Gao Changkong wasn't idle either. He brought his girlfriend, Gu Man, and his vice captain, Ji Yushin, to District E, the lowest living area in Blizzard City. They brought a truckload of food and supplies exchanged for points. Gao Changkong had come from District E himself. Even though he was once a renowned basketball star, his abilities didn't contribute much to Blizzard City after the apocalypse. So, in the beginning, he had also lived here for a month. It was only after awakening his powers that he gradually climbed his way up to the position of investigation team leader. Every time he returned from a mission, he never forgot the place he once lived in, always bringing supplies to the residents who had once helped him. Someone in the crowd said, if Captain Gao could become the commander of the major districts in the future, that would be wonderful. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding people nodded in agreement. Gu Man watched Gao Changkong busy moving supplies with a proud expression, thinking, the man I chose is truly exceptional. Who would have thought that one of Blizzard City's most prominent figures would regularly do this kind of hard labor? Gao Changkong laughed heartily. Everyone, don't say things like that. Under General Zhu's leadership, Blizzard City is already doing well. At that moment, a woman spoke up. Capital of Splendor originally had a population of 15 million, but in the end, fewer than 2 million were selected to enter Blizzard City. Later, many of them lost their ability to work for various reasons, and they were ruthlessly driven out. My parents parents are over 70 years old, and they were also driven out. How can this be called a good life? Gao Changkong remained silent for a moment before shouting loudly, "Everyone, please believe me. The world will gradually get better." His gaze inspired many people. After finishing their work in District D, Gao Changkong and his group returned to a cafe in District A to rest. Ji Yushin sighed helplessly. "We finally got a chance to rest in Blizzard City, but now it looks like another mission is about to be dumped on us." Gao Changkong took a sip of coffee and smiled. "It's just because we happen to be available. Sometimes, luck plays a role too. Luckily, we didn't get assigned to the zombie mission in Heavenly Sea City. Who would have thought that tiny Heavenly Sea City would have an Epsilon-level mutant?" Bien Junwoo was already in bad shape. "It's such a pity." At this moment, Ji Yushin lowered his voice and said to the other two, "If the Eclipsed Moon mission is handed over to us and we complete it successfully, our reincarnation squad will become the undisputed leader among the 6 major investigation teams. By then, our prestige will be unprecedented. After all, this is about driving out external threats." Gao Changkong smiled faintly. "It's not that simple. The higher-ups wouldn't just hand over the credit to us so easily." Ji Yushin scoffed. "They have no one left to use now. They can't send the Swallow Cloud troops for the mission, right? Other than us, they have no better choice. When that happens, the position of Blizzard City's commander will most likely be yours." Gao Changkong gave a wry smile. "Don't oversimplify things. Compared to the other captains, I come from a civilian background, with no connections and no backing. Even if I achieve an earth-shattering accomplishment, it'll still be difficult for me to rise up." Guman chuckled. "That may not be the case. The times have changed. In the apocalypse, strength rules all. Right now, who in Blizzard City is your match? This is your opportunity." Ji Yushin also grinned. "As long as we take down Eclipsed Moon, our reputation in Blizzard City will reach its peak. Entering the power core of Blizzard City will be a natural progression. At that point, we'll break the system and let small people like us, who climbed up from the bottom, set foot in District A." After the apocalypse, the Order and several small island nations in the southern part of Country Hua collapsed instantly. Due to their geographical location, most of them turned to piracy, and countless mutant organizations rose to power, becoming the dominant forces in those regions. Among them, the most powerful was the super-large faction known as the Heavenly Dragon Pirates. One day, Eclipsed Moon's icebreaker plowed through the crashing waves and arrived at their headquarters, Heavenly Dragon Island. The leader of the Heavenly Dragon Pirates, Li Fengxian, looked at Huan and said, "Are you the leader of Eclipsed Moon? The one who turned River South Domain upside down?" The news of the battle with Eclipsed Moon couldn't be concealed. With deliberate efforts to spread it, the whole world had already learned about it. Huan smirked devilishly. "That's right, Honorable Heavenly Dragon King. I am Huan, the leader of Eclipsed Moon." At that moment, Li Fengxian suddenly burst into laughter. "What a bold little fluorescent brat, daring to come to my Heavenly Dragon Island alone. You really have no fear of death, do you?" As he spoke, his expression suddenly changed, and the temperature in the entire cave seemed to drop to freezing. "How did you find this place? If you don't explain yourself clearly, this cave will be your grave today." Huan replied calmly, "That's not difficult for me, because I have this ability. As long as I want to find your location, I will find it." Li Fengxian grew more vigilant. "Then what is your purpose for coming here?" Huan slowly spread his arms. "Honorable Heavenly Dragon King, I have come to offer you a grand gift, unimaginable wealth for the Heavenly Dragon Pirates." As soon as he said this, the room erupted in laughter. A mere fluorescent foreigner, daring to boast about offering them wealth? Could wealth even be eaten in this world? Huan continued, "I'm not talking about the so-called wealth from before the apocalypse. I mean weapons, energy, food, and people. Those are the most valuable assets now." At that moment, a silver-haired man spoke. "Do you even know what scale of treasure it would take to impress us? In the southern seas, anything we hunt is measured by nations. Nation hunting is the kind of business that interests us." Huan chuckled. "What if I invited you all to share in the bountiful lands of River South Domain in Country Hua?" The laughter in the hall instantly stopped. Even the Heavenly Dragon King and his second-in-command, Bai Lian, furrowed their brows. "Are you insane?" Huan grinned and declared, "I am not spouting nonsense. My Eclipsed Moon's 13 members have fought River South Domain head-on twice, and won both times. We are the force that has left River South Domain helpless. You all know how wealthy River South Domain is. The resources of a single city there are equivalent to an entire small nation in the southern seas." At this moment, the captain of the 1st Division, Nerode, spoke. "A great nation's foundation isn't something you can underestimate. If they were really so weak that even your 13 members could defeat them, why haven't you taken River South Domain for yourselves? Why are you here seeking our cooperation?" Huan smiled. "We simply don't have enough manpower, so there's a limit to what we can do. Heavenly Dragon King, I doubt you are satisfied with merely ruling these small seas. Our experiences have already proven that River South Domain is all bark and no bite. It's not nearly as powerful as the rumors claim." At that moment, Bai Lian shouted angrily, "A mere fluorescent Ronin dares to try and use us as a tool? You think we'd fall for such a cheap trick? You must have a death wish." As soon as these words were spoken, dozens of weapons were instantly aimed at Huan. Yet, Huan remained calm in the face of danger. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You have great strength, and I can guide you, helping you evade the Navy's patrols. If you miss this chance, you will never get another." At this moment, The Heavenly Dragon King looked at Huan with amusement. You are indeed an interesting person, crazy enough and bold enough. If someone like you appeared in the southern seas, I would kill you without hesitation, because you are far too daring. Keeping you as an enemy would be dangerous, and keeping you as a subordinate would make loyalty impossible to expect. So, you can leave now. Huan looked disappointed, but he also knew that further persuasion would be futile. He smiled and bowed slightly to the Heavenly Dragon King. As you wish, but I will make sure you see the fire I ignite on that land. Watching Huan's arrogant departure, the Heavenly Dragon King smirked inwardly. What an ignorant Ronin. The thing pirates feared most was the navy of great nations. Those warships, equipped with the most advanced weaponry, could likely wipe out their entire fleet with just a single vessel. Even though land-based artillery and armor had lost much of their effectiveness, the power of warships had never diminished in the deep sea. Huan, having been turned away, felt a little disappointed. He thought to himself, this Heavenly Dragon King is way too cautious. How is he even more timid than that guy Shinguji? After Huan left, the Heavenly Dragon King immediately issued an order. No one is allowed to have any contact with those Ronin. If they do, don't blame me for not warning them. The subordinates all acknowledged his command, but one person seemed to take an interest in Huan. As the captain of the 4th Division of the pirate crew, he had long been seeking an opportunity to prove himself. He thought to himself, if I can successfully cooperate with this fluorescent brat and take down River South Domain, the Sea Dragon King will surely see me in a new light. He secretly sent a message to his subordinates. Intercept a fluorescent man wearing a newsboy cap and bring him to me. A member of the 4th Division, Druina, found Huan. Come with me. Our boss wants to see you. He's very interested in what you said today. Huan was secretly delighted. I knew it. Those greedy and arrogant pirates would never be indifferent to my words. If they don't dare to take even the slightest risk, how can they call themselves pirates? He followed them into a vehicle, but as soon as he got in, his eyes were blindfolded. After a long and winding journey, they arrived at the site of an ironclad warship, the base of the Heavenly Dragon Pirates 4th Division. Canute stared at Huan and asked in a deep voice, is what you said before the Heavenly Dragon King true? Is River South Domain really that weak? Huan smiled. Of course, it's not that simple. If it were a direct confrontation, the 13 of us would stand no chance. But River South Domain's territory is far too vast. They can't possibly defend every inch of it. If we keep harassing them and eating away at their defenses bit by bit, eventually, we will get everything we want. It's just a pity that your Heavenly Dragon King is too timid. Hearing this, a flash of killing intent appeared in Canute's eyes. Shut your damn mouth. Who the hell do you think you are to judge our king? Huan spread his hands and chuckled awkwardly. My apologies. My apologies. I didn't mean any offense. I just think that if you let this opportunity slip away, there won't be another one. Canute frowned. Our biggest concern is their navy. Do you have a way to help us bypass their patrols? Huan smiled confidently. Of course, I do. After all, I've set foot on that land myself. Hearing this, Canute revealed a slight smile. Interesting. In that case, how about we work together? Huan extended his hand with a smile. Then, here's to a successful partnership. But before he could finish speaking, a gun was pressed against his forehead. Canute said coldly, don't even think about playing any tricks, or I'll personally put a bullet in your head. Huan ignored the gun against his forehead and remained calm, smiling as he said, of course. After all, we're partners now, aren't we? Zhang Yi had only stayed at the shelter for a day before taking his team back to Blizzard City. Just as they exited the subway station, a man in black blocked their path. Mr. Zhang Yi, we were sent by Deng Yuanbo. Old Deng would like to invite you to lunch. Would you be available? Zhang Yi was a bit surprised by the Deng family's sudden invitation, but he knew they were a major force in the region. Refusing them outright might not be a good idea. He looked at the man in black and smiled. Would it be alright if I bring my friends along? The bodyguard nodded immediately. Of course. Zhang Yi followed the bodyguards into a car. At that moment, he exchanged a glance with Yang Xinxin and Liang Yu before sending a message in their 3-person chat group. The Deng family inviting me to a meal at this time. What do you think? Could it be a trap? Liang Yu thought for a moment before replying. I'm not sure about this either. Meanwhile, Yang Xinxin simply smiled and responded with a single word, recruitment. Zhang Yi glanced at Yang Xinxin and asked, what do you mean? Yang Xinxin's lips curled into a mysterious smile. Now that Deng Shintong has fallen in battle, they need new strength to maintain their position. So, this invitation is most likely an attempt to recruit you into their ranks. Zhang Yi frowned, but I have no interest in getting involved in Blizzard City's power struggles. Yang Xinxin analyzed further. Right now, the Deng family needs you, so they won't make things difficult for you. You can probe their intentions first. Don't reject them too quickly. Leave them with some room to speculate. Zhang Yi sighed after reading her message. Even in the apocalypse, we still have to deal with all these political games. How boring. Half an hour later, the car arrived at Deng's garden, and they were led straight to Deng Yuanhua's residence. As soon as they stepped into the living room, they saw a group of beautifully dressed maids in uniforms standing on both sides, bowing respectfully. Welcome, Mr. Zhang Yi, Miss Yang, and Miss Liang. Zhang Yi was slightly taken aback by the grand display. Deng Yuanbo really knows how to put on a show. Yang Xinxin, however, frowned slightly. This kind of welcome is a bit low class. Are they trying to use a honey trap? Next, the butler pushed open the dining room doors. The entire dining area area was lavishly decorated with a dominant red theme that even gave off a festive vibe. This struck Zhang Yi as odd. His nephew's body was barely cold, yet he set up such a cheerful atmosphere. Was this really appropriate? Seeing Zhang Yi and the others arrive, Deng Yuanbo immediately smiled and greeted them. I'm very happy that you all could come today. Please, take a seat. Make yourselves at home. Once they were seated, Deng Yuanbo clapped his hands. A maid walked up to Zhang Yi, holding a tray. Zhang Yi, you and Shintong were acquaintances. By seniority, you should call me Uncle Deng. Consider this a small meeting gift. I hope you don't mind. Zhang Yi asked curiously, Uncle Deng, what's inside this box? Deng Yuanbo replied casually, poor child, you must have suffered a lot in these 6 months of the apocalypse. What's inside this box can help you improve your strength for half a year. Hearing this, Zhang Yi's expression froze. This thing can enhance my strength? Deng Yuanbo explained, this is Compound X, an exclusive technological product of our Deng family. It can rapidly enhance a mutant's abilities. Zhang Yi was intrigued. Does this drug have any side effects? Deng Yuanbo reassured him. The technology behind this is very mature. There are no side effects. It works by extracting the essence of abilities, allowing you to absorb them more efficiently. Zhang Yi couldn't help but feel suspicious. A gift this valuable at a first meeting? What if this is some kind of poison? If I use it, will I fall under the Deng family's control? Noticing Zhang Yi's hesitation, Deng Yuanbo immediately addressed his concerns. You're cautious, just as I expected. That's a good thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't have survived this apocalypse and achieved what you have today. But rest assured, the Deng family has always been above board in our dealings. This is nothing more than a token of goodwill. Deng Yuanbo wouldn't stoop so low as to use something like this to demand favors from others. Hearing this, Zhang Yi felt that refusing again would seem impolite. He nodded and stored the box in his spatial dimension. Then I'll thank Uncle Deng for his generosity. At that moment, Deng Yuanbo clapped his hands immediately. Over a dozen maids entered carrying plates of food. Before long, the table was filled with dishes. After eating and drinking their fill, Deng Yuanbo expressed his desire to speak with Zhang Yi privately. Zhang Yi didn't refuse. Once they arrived at the study, Deng Yuanbo got straight to the point. Zhang Yi, General Zhu wants you to be the captain of the Heavenly Dog Squad. Why are you hesitating? You should know that you have no background in Blizzard City. If you want to establish yourself here, you must accomplish something significant. Zhang Yi, however, said indifferently, I'm used to a free and unrestrained life. Becoming a captain means too many rules and regulations. I'm not used to that. Deng Yuanbo chuckled. But even in Heavenly Sea City, you still have to follow Blizzard City's orders, don't you? Zhang Yi smiled meaningfully. At least in Heavenly Sea City, I have room to maneuver. Deng Yuanbo sighed. I really don't understand you young people. Even when given the chance to be a leader, you don't want it. Then let me make a proposal. You become the temporary captain of the Heavenly Dog Squad. That should be acceptable, right? And don't worry, I won't ask you to work for nothing. If you agree to be the temporary captain, I'll offer you something you can't refuse. You Outer City mutants don't really understand abilities. You just blindly push your strength, taking many wrong turns. But our Deng Corporation has been studying mutants for half a century. Hearing this, Zhang Yi's eyes flashed. Half a century? Are you saying mutants have existed for a long time? Deng Yuanbo explained, mutation is a natural part of biological evolution. In fact, mutants have existed in every era. It's only because we are now in a time of large-scale mutations that they've become widely known. In the past, our research on mutants was mainly for pharmaceuticals and military applications, which brought Deng Corporation great wealth. We have a well-established team that can help you and your companions enhance your abilities. You are already strong, but you still have a lot of room for improvement. Zhang Yi couldn't refute this, but he was still wary. I need to know why you're helping me. If your goal is to turn me into your family's enforcer, following your every command, then I'm sorry, I can't do that. Deng Yuanbo, however, just smiled. Of course, I have no such intention. I'm doing this purely to avenge my nephew. Zhang Yi was puzzled. I don't need you to tell me. I was already planning to wipe out Eclipsed Moon. But Deng Yuanbo said solemnly, Eclipsed Moon was just the blade that killed my nephew. The real mastermind is within Blizzard City. My nephew was a prodigy from a young age, intelligent and extraordinarily gifted. With the full support of the Deng family, he quickly became one of the strongest mutants in River South Domain. His future was filled with boundless potential. He could have become the brightest figure of this era, but such brilliance inevitably breeds envy. Someone used Eclipsed Moon to get rid of him. Zhang Yi was shocked. Yang Xinxin's analysis from last night has already been confirmed this quickly. If you already know who was behind Deng Shintong's death, why not work with General Zhu to resolve it? Deng Yuanbo said grimly, we don't know the exact culprit yet, but one thing is certain, whoever benefits the most from Deng Shintong's death is the prime suspect. Zhang Yi immediately realized the complexity of the situation. Tu Yunlai, the Reincarnation Squad, or even other factions within Blizzard City, any of them could be behind this plot. Even Zhu Jin could be involved. Was he really going to wade into this mess? Zhang Yi hesitated. He really didn't want to get caught up in Blizzard City's power struggle. But Deng Yuanbo assured him, don't worry, I won't ask you to take sides or help me deal with anyone. I only need you to complete this mission. At the very least, do better than the Reincarnation Squad. Hearing this, Zhang Yi suddenly understood. You suspect Gao Changkong, don't you? Deng Yuanbo's voice was serious. status, not just Gao Changkong. This mission must be completed by you. You will become the flag bearer that our Deng family promotes. They killed my nephew to reshuffle Blizzard City's power structure. I will not let that happen. If you, an outsider, complete this mission, the power balance in Blizzard City will remain unchanged. Zhang Yi didn't fully trust this old fox. After all, Deng Yuanbo was a master manipulator, and if he wasn't careful, he might end up being used and discarded. Zhang Yi questioned, so what you're saying is, you'll help me and my companions grow stronger, and then take credit for eliminating Eclipsed Moon for yourself, right? Deng Yuanbo nodded. You're absolutely right. Whoever takes down Eclipsed Moon will gain supreme prestige in Blizzard City. Zhang Yi reluctantly accepted this reasoning. So, are you planning to use this Compound X to enhance our strength? Deng Yuanbo, however, simply smiled. This substance won't do much for you anymore. It's mainly meant for those around you. Zhang Yi felt a bit disappointed. So it's useless for me, huh? Deng Yuanbo explained. You've already reached your limit. Frankly, I admire you a lot. To be honest, it's incredibly difficult for an outer city mutant to reach your level of power, but you did it. It's nothing short of a miracle. Right now, you're like this teacup. Your capacity is fixed. No matter how much more water you pour in, it will just overflow. Zhang Yi quickly grasped the meaning behind Deng Yuanbo's words. So my only way forward is to expand my capacity, but you haven't figured out how to do that yet, have you? Otherwise, Deng Shintong wouldn't have been stuck at Delta level. At the mention of his nephew, Deng Yuanbo sighed deeply. Deng Shintong did reach his limit. We've been searching for ways to break past biological constraints, but genetics belong to the realm of the gods. How can mortals touch it so easily? The same goes for you. You've hit a bottleneck, and you can no longer increase your strength just by absorbing other mutants' cores. That's why enhancing your teammates is the most efficient strategy. Of course, not just anyone can be forcefully enhanced. Those lacking talent or strong willpower might collapse under the immense transformation process. As he spoke, his gaze shifted to Liang Yu, who was still sitting in the dining hall. That martial artist beside you is an exceptional candidate. She is a raw gem waiting to be polished. If we can unlock her full potential, I believe she could become as strong as you. It was extremely easy for Deng Yuanbo to investigate Liang Yu's background and identity. Liang Yu came from a martial arts family. She had mastered over 300 martial arts disciplines and had already achieved martial hero status in national competitions by the age of 17. Someone like her was one in a million. From Deng Yuanbo's perspective, Liang Yu, with her high overall aptitude, had far greater potential for growth than Zhang Yi. After all, becoming a presidential bodyguard required inhuman levels of training and selection, and Deng Yuanbo understood that well. In contrast, Zhang Yi was just a supermarket warehouse manager. While he had some talent, compared to Liang Yu, the difference was obvious. Deng Yuanbo smiled and asked, so, Zhang Yi, what do you think? Accepting my help doesn't do you any harm, does it? Zhang Yi was momentarily undecided. Deng Yuanbo didn't pressure him and even said considerately, this is a big decision. I understand that you have no real ties to the Deng family, and it's natural for you to be cautious, but I truly believe this is a rare opportunity for you. I hope you'll seize your future. Go ahead and discuss it with your people. I'll give you some time. With that, Zhang Yi got up, intending to find Yang Xinxin for an analysis. After hearing the whole story, Liang Yu was immediately tempted. Even though this compound carries some risks, I'm willing to give it a shot. Zhang Yi was a bit surprised. You're really that eager? Liang Yu sighed helplessly. I don't have much of a choice. The battle with Eclipsed Moon is happening soon. If I don't improve quickly, I'll just end up dragging you down. After careful consideration, Yang Xinxin gave her analysis. I think we can cooperate with the Deng family. After all, they have no reason to harm us. Zhang Yi nodded. Then we'll accept their offer. After deciding to accept Deng Yuanbo's proposal, Zhang Yi brought Liang Yu back to Deng Yuanbo's study. We are willing to accept the Deng family's help, but let me make one thing clear. This is just a transaction. We each get what we need, so we don't owe you anything. If I ever find out that you've done anything to my companions, I won't just let it slide. Deng Yuanbo set down his teacup and responded, of course. He briefly explained the experimental process, which, in theory, was a form of artificial co-symbiosis. At that moment, Zhang Yi added, I need to be able to contact her every day. That is non-negotiable. Deng Yuanbo nodded. You're as cautious as I expected. If you're still worried, why don't you both stay in the Deng family estate? Zhang Yi thought for a moment but ultimately declined. With the chaos in Blizzard City, moving in directly would only raise suspicions. Deng Yuanbo then suggested, actually, you could try our enhancement program yourself. Maybe your potential is far greater than you think. Zhang Yi shook his head. That won't be necessary. If there was even a 0.01% chance of failure, he wouldn't take the risk. Without hesitation, he found an excuse to leave the Deng estate, while Liang Yu was escorted to the laboratory by the butler. As he watched Zhang Yi's departing figure, Deng Yuanbo sighed. This kid is so cautious, it's honestly impressive. If you had even a third of his prudence, you wouldn't have failed back then. At that moment, the painting behind Deng Yuanbo suddenly revealed a shadowy figure, who spoke in a low voice. This kid is really hard to read. Deng Yuanbo glanced back sharply. Is this why you're so optimistic about him? But do you really think he can beat Gao Changkong? The voice behind the wall replied in a deep tone. Don't underestimate this guy. His potential is at least on par with the 6 major investigation captains mutants, possibly even higher. Deng Yuan's eyes flashed with shock. The 6 investigation captains of Blizzard City were all top-tier Delta mutants, refined to their absolute limits. If Zhang Yi surpassed them, wouldn't that mean he was already on the verge of Epsilon level? After a brief silence, the voice from the wall spoke again, this time in a measured tone. Our understanding of mutation is still far too shallow. Even after half a century of research, the Deng family has only just scratched the surface. But when I saw Zhang Yi fight in River Serenity City, I realized everyone had underestimated him. He's like a bottomless abyss, impossible to gauge. Even if we can't recruit him, we absolutely cannot let him become an enemy of the Deng family. Deng Yuanbo frowned. It's fine if he doesn't want to join River South Domain. For now, I just need to make him stronger. The stronger he gets, the less he'll need Zhu Zheng, and that means he'll naturally drift closer to us. Meanwhile, in the A District Villa, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin sat close together on the sofa, thinking about Liang Yu, who was undergoing the genetic experiment at the Deng family estate. Zhang Yi still felt uneasy. I feel like the Deng family is being too good to me. I can't shake the feeling that they're setting me up for a big trap. Yang Xinxin, however, looked at him with admiration and said, "Brother, do you still not get it? You're now one of the top mutants in River South Domain. No matter where you go, people will respect you, and every major faction will try their best to recruit you. Now that the Deng family has lost their top combatant, it's only natural for them to show goodwill to you at this time." Zhang Yi suddenly had an epiphany. After so long in the apocalypse, he had almost forgotten how things worked in civilized society. At that moment, Zhang Yi took out the compound X that Deng Yuanbo had given him. Looking at the blue liquid, Zhang Yi felt an instinctive urge to use it, a deep genetic craving, but out of caution, he suppressed the desire and decided to call Bailey Chongqing for some insight. Zhang Yi got straight to the point. "Bailey Chongqing, I need to ask, does the Deng Corporation have any dark history when it comes to pharmaceuticals?" Bailey Chongqing responded, "Let me put it this way. Right now, Blizzard City relies almost entirely on the Deng family for genetic medicine. After multiple trials, their drugs are now quite stable. I was part of the 3rd batch of experimental subjects, and so far, I've had no side effects at all. The version we used was Compound 6. Zhang Yi was puzzled. Compound 6? He hadn't heard of that before, but he quickly understood. Compound X was likely an exclusive formula of the Deng family, meaning it wasn't publicly available. After thinking it over, Zhang Yi ultimately resisted the temptation to inject the compound. After Zhang Yi agreed to become the Heavenly Dog Squad captain, Zhu Jing immediately instructed his secretary, Lan Xinchen, to summon him. Zhang Yi soon arrived at the command center. Zhu Jing looked at him kindly, his eyes filled with satisfaction, the same way he once looked at Deng Shintong. "Deng Yuanbo just informed me that you've agreed to be the Heavenly Dog Squad captain." Hearing this, Zhang Yi sat up straight and loudly declared, "For River South Domain, for Blizzard City, for the glory of the Hua people, I accept this mission without hesitation." Zhu Jing coughed a few times, thinking to himself, "This brat, just a while ago, I was practically begging him, and he wouldn't agree. Now he's acting all righteous, what a show." Zhu Jing then spoke in a serious tone, "Since you've accepted the position, you must take on the corresponding responsibilities. Integrate the Black Robe Squad and the Heavenly God Squad. Make sure they coexist peacefully. Also, you can't act like a lone wolf anymore. Additionally, I'll grant you high-level access within Blizzard City. Lan Xinchen will explain the details to you." Zhang Yi had no objections to this, but he still made 2 requests. "I want my companions to be assigned to my squad as well." Even though it was a temporary unit, Zhang Yi figured it wouldn't hurt to at least get a set of battle gear out of it. Zhu Jing smiled and nodded. "Of course, that's not a problem. As the captain, you have that authority." Zhang Yi continued, "Just so we're clear, I'm only temporarily taking this position. Once the mission is over, I'm going back to Heavenly Sea City to enjoy my carefree life as a shut-in. So, considering that, I want to operate under a code name instead of my real name. If we succeed in this battle, my name will definitely spread far and wide. At that point, all my personal information will be dug up in no time." Zhu Jing thought for a moment after hearing this. "I've actually considered this before. We should assign codenames to our core combat personnel to ensure confidentiality." Zhang Yi thought for a moment and said, "I just need a low-key codename." Zhu Jing nodded. "Right now, we're using ancient mythological figures for codenames. I'll have Lan Xinchen send you a list to choose from." With that, Zhang Yi left the office. At that moment, Sun Luxuan spoke from behind. "This solves our biggest issue. General Zhu, your authority remains unchallenged. Once we successfully eliminate Eclipsed Moon, the Heavenly Dog Squad can be disbanded, and we can simply let Zhang Yi leave Blizzard City. That would be the best outcome. The only downside is that we won't have a captain for the squad anymore." Zhu Jing smiled and said, "I already have someone in mind for that position." Not long after, Lan Xinchen called to inform him that Zhang Yi had chosen his codename Chaos. Chaos was one of the 4 great fiend beasts in ancient mythology, a powerful yet rarely mentioned entity. When Zhu Jing heard this, he was momentarily stunned. This kid, he really knows how to keep a low profile. He's so cautious that I almost don't want him to leave Blizzard City. He started pondering exactly how he could persuade Zhang Yi to stay for good. After returning to the villa, Bailey Chongqing soon came knocking. As soon as they met, Bailey Chongqing grinned and said, "I didn't expect you to actually officially become my boss. Congratulations. Zhang Yi asked. So, does that mean your captain title has been revoked? Bailey Changqing shrugged helplessly. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Nobody has really treated me like a captain for a while now. With you taking over, I actually feel a lot more relaxed. The most important thing is that my family's living conditions haven't been affected. At this moment, Zhang Yi said, I'm only a temporary captain. Once the Eclipsed Moon mission is done, I'll be leaving. At that point, the Black Robe Squad captain will still be you. We've known each other for so long. If I don't look out for you, who else would I help? Hearing this, Bailey Changqing's expression became serious. I came here for official business. Headquarters sent me to brief you on the powers and responsibilities of an investigation captain. And more importantly, I have 2 critical intelligence reports to hand over to you. The moment he heard the word intelligence, Zhang Yi's demeanor instantly turned serious. What intelligence? Bailey Changqing put away his smile and said in a serious tone, one report is about the members of Heavenly God Squad, and the other is the data Deng Shintong sent to headquarters before his death. What exactly did Deng Shintong send back before he died? It's about Eclipsed Moon's core secrets. In other words, this is information Deng Shintong risked his life to retrieve. After receiving the files, Bailey Changqing noted that the first report wasn't that important. It was just the roster of the new Heavenly Dog Squad members. Our old Black Robe Squad has no issue with you, but the Heavenly God Squad is a different story. Deng Shintong's prestige was too high, and they've always been arrogant because of it. They won't easily accept an outer city mutant as their leader. If necessary, you might want to establish dominance early. Let them know who's boss. Zhang Yi immediately understood. Damn, you're just using this as an excuse to mess with them, aren't you? Let's focus on Deng Shintong's report. This intel is extremely critical. With his strength, he must have forced Huan to reveal some of his trump cards. Zhang Yi called Yang Xinxin to watch the footage together. The beginning of the video was mostly blank, as Deng Shintong had distorted the light with his ability, making it impossible for recording devices to capture a clear image. Only the audio was preserved. From the brief conversation between the two, it was confirmed that Huan has the ability to resurrect after death. Zhang Yi frowned. That's definitely an annoying power to deal with. From the audio, it was also clear that while Huan's close combat skills weren't as good as Deng Shintong's, he was still at an elite level. After a long silence, the image finally appeared. At this point, Deng Shintong was engulfed in flames, his body racked with unbearable pain. He muttered under his breath, where the hell is this guy's weakness? I refuse to believe that there's a carbon-based life form in this world that can't be killed. Even while burning alive, Deng Shintong remained calmly analyzing the situation. Am I really going to lose? His ability is indeed absurd, but it's obvious that I'm stronger than him. Then, suddenly, Deng Shintong had a moment of realization. I get it now. There must be a traitor inside Blizzard City. Someone leaked my abilities. The moment Deng Shintong said those words, Zhang Yi's grip on his cup tightened, his thoughts racing. Xu Zheng and Deng Yuanbo must have watched this video countless times. That's why they want to use me to draw out the traitor. In the video, Deng Shintong was on the verge of collapse, barely able to stand. Against an enemy who could resurrect indefinitely, he had no way to counter it. And yet, Huan seemed to know everything about Deng Shintong's abilities and attack patterns, almost as if he had seen them before. Then, Deng Shintong had another realization. I know now. I finally understand. He can see the future. He knows my attack patterns in advance. The only way to defeat him is with the law of causality. Tell Zhang Yi. Before he could finish, Huan's fist smashed into Deng Shintong's face, and the screen was suddenly engulfed in a blinding white light. Bailey Changqing sighed. Deng Shintong ultimately chose to self-destruct to end himself, to prevent his core essence from falling into Huan's hands. After watching the footage, Zhang Yi remained silent for a long time. He understood exactly what Deng Shintong meant by law of causality. Because he himself possesses a strong law of causality, he once even believed that his ability to resurrect was due to the awakening of an extremely unique ability, one that had yet to be fully discovered. At this moment, he even had the urge to undergo genetic modification at the Deng Corporation. Now that he knew Huan had a resurrection ability, Zhang Yi felt that this battle had become even more difficult, not to mention that Huan also had a seer on his side, someone who could predict the future, making things even more troublesome. But Bailey Changqing just grinned. In the last battle, you took down 4 of their mutants. That means their precognition ability doesn't work on you. You interfere with causality itself. You're their natural counter. And at the end, Deng Shintong specifically mentioned that only you can deal with Huan. Zhang Yi immediately interrupted. Don't jump to conclusions. Deng Shintong never finished his sentence. And my ability is mainly defensive. Even if I do have a way to kill him, if he can resurrect infinitely, what am I supposed to do? Bailey Changqing's eyes lit up. Can you trap him inside your spatial dimension? Zhang Yi shook his head. My spatial dimension doesn't have the ability to forcibly absorb living creatures. Unless he willingly enters, it won't work. Bailey Changqing slapped his thigh. Then isn't it simple? Just break him into pieces and throw him inside. Zhang Yi was speechless. You think I'm Deng Shintong? My specialty is defense. How am I supposed to kill him dozens of times like Deng Shintong did? At that moment, Yang Xinxin finally spoke up. I remember that Takeuchi Mayumi, the Shrine Maiden, was present during that fight. Based on what we currently understand about abilities, Huan's power type belongs to the trait system. That means he shouldn't be able to possess a time-related ability at the same time. So, I theorized that Takeuchi Mayumi must have granted him his precognitive ability through some special means. In other words, if we take out Takeuchi Mayumi first, Huan's combat effectiveness will drop by at least 30%. This analysis instantly opened up Zhang Yi's mind. It was very likely to be true. Seeing Zhang Yi's troubled expression, Bailey Changqing chuckled. Actually, you shouldn't put too much pressure on yourself. Your main task in this mission should be to neutralize the Shrine Maiden's precognition ability. As for dealing with Huan, there's someone else who's better suited for that. Zhang Yi was surprised. Wait, are you talking about Gao Changkong? Bailey Changqing nodded. Actually, Gao Changkong's ability is quite well suited for dealing with Huan, but I can't tell you what it is just yet. If my guess is correct, this operation will be led by him, and we only need to support him. Zhang Yi didn't refute Bailey Changqing's assessment because it was logically sound. However, as a soldier, Bailey Changqing was still too naive. He still didn't fully grasp the complexities of political power struggles. At least for now, he probably wouldn't understand it. Suddenly, Zhang Yi's eyes lit up. Wait a second, since I'm the captain of the Heavenly Dog Squad now, does that mean I can freely requisition captain-level weapons and equipment? Also, I have 3 teammates. They're going to need gear too. Bailey Changqing nodded. Just tell me what equipment you need, and I'll have someone deliver it to you later. Zhang Yi, however, shook his head. No need for all that trouble. I'll go check it out myself. I might need quite a lot of weapons. Bailey Changqing looked at Zhang Yi's odd expression and thought to himself, I just hope General Zhu's heart can handle this. Not long after, while Zhu Xing was in his office reviewing documents, an officer rushed in to report, General Zhu, we have a problem. Zhang Yi used his spatial ability to requisition a massive stockpile of weapons. The quantity is outrageous, and he's still looting the warehouse as we speak. The officer was on the verge of tears. He had never seen anyone requisition equipment like this before. Zhu Xing thought for a moment before sighing and shaking his head. Forget it. Just let him take whatever he wants. Zhu Xing knew full well that firearms had become far less effective in the apocalypse. If they really needed weapons, they could easily manufacture more in a short time. Hearing this, the officer reluctantly accepted it and even began introducing Zhang Yi to more weapons. Zhang Yi didn't hesitate in the slightest. He waved his hand boldly and said, I'll take everything you just mentioned. After stockpiling an absurd amount of weapons, Zhang Yi returned to the villa completely satisfied. If this were before the apocalypse, this would be enough to equip a full-scale professional army. At that moment, Zhang Yi suddenly thought of Liang Yu. Just then, his phone rang. It was Liang Yu calling. How are things on your end? Do you feel anything unusual? At that moment, Liang Yu was inside a massive experimental chamber, surrounded by over a dozen technicians making final preparations. She told Zhang Yi, the initial preparations are complete. For the next 3 days, I'll be inside the experiment pod. That means for the next 72 hours, I won't be able to contact you. Zhang Yi was silent for a moment. He wanted to say something reassuring, but after hesitating for a long time, all he managed was, I'll wait for you to come back. Hearing this, Liang Yu felt a warmth in her heart. She softly replied, then hung up the phone. After ending the call, Liang Yu handed her phone to the staff and followed them into the experimental chamber. Outside the lab, Deng Yuanbo and several senior researchers were watching the process unfold. At that moment, a lead scientist turned to Deng Yuanbo and asked, are we really using A-grade origin energy for this? This level of resource consumption is enormous, almost on par with what we spent on the young master's cultivation. Deng Yuanbo responded calmly, just follow the plan. A business always requires large upfront investments. As long as the returns are worth it in the end, it's all justified. This time, against Eclipsed Moon, we cannot afford to lose. Deng Yuanbo's eyes flashed with a sharp glint, and I'm going to use this opportunity to root out the traitor inside Blizzard City. Meanwhile, in the villa, Yang Xinxin and Zhang Yi weren't idle either. They were deep in discussion about strategies to deal with Eclipsed Moon, an enemy with immortality, elite close combat skills, and a Shrine Maiden who can predict the future. Having all these abilities together is so overwhelming it's suffocating. He must find a way to counter Huan. At that moment, Zhang Yi asked Yang Xinxin, Eclipsed Moon has been recovering for nearly a week now. What do you think they've been up to? Zhang Yi believed that understanding their behavior patterns was the key to making the perfect preparations. Yang Xinxin's voice was calm but serious. Even though River South Domain lost the last battle, Eclipsed Moon also lost 5 members, but the domain has deep resources. Even with the loss of Heavenly God Squad, there's still Reincarnation Squad. They can quickly replenish their combat strength, but Eclipsed Moon, they can't easily replace their lost fighters. So my guess is that their first priority was to find reinforcements. Eclipsed Moon has made huge waves in River South Domain. If Huan returns to Fluorescent and stirs up factions that have always coveted Country Hua's land, someone might be tempted to follow him back, hoping to get a piece of the spoils. But honestly, our next opponents could come from any faction. Ever since the Ice Age began, the entire world has been completely reshuffled. Country Hua is still relatively stable. We've managed to hold on to our core strength, but to the southeast, including the southern seas, those smaller nations must be in absolute chaos. Eclipsed Moon might go there, using Country Hua's rich resources as leverage to persuade them him to join the invasion. Just then, Zhang Yi's phone rang. It was Zhu Jing, summoning him to a high-level strategy meeting at 2 p.m. to discuss plans against Eclipsed Moon. At exactly 2 p.m., Zhang Yi arrived at the conference room, bringing Flower and Yang Xinxin with him. The meeting was packed. Nearly every influential figure in Blizzard City was present. As he observed the room dynamics, Zhang Yi quickly noticed two major factions forming. The first faction revolved around Tu Yunlai, the Minister of Operations. His subordinates were not even lowering their voices. They were openly pushing for him to lead the mission. Minister Tu, your strength far surpasses those investigation captains. Otherwise, the defense of Blizzard City wouldn't have been placed in your hands. This operation against Eclipsed Moon is extremely significant. You must take charge. If you don't, those investigation squad guys might start thinking they're stronger than you. The second faction was centered around Gao Changkong, and his support base was even larger. Unlike Tu Yunlai, Gao Changkong was well-liked and had never put on airs. As a result, among Blizzard City's middle and lower ranks, his popularity was unmatched. Captain Gao, this burden falls on you. If you successfully complete this mission, even someone of humble origins like you could enter Blizzard City's core power structure. Then maybe we commoners will finally have some hope for the future. Gao Changkong looked a little embarrassed. Gao Changkong, don't have such ambitions. I only want to fulfill my duty as a soldier to protect River South Domain and uphold its honor. Any enemy that dares to invade, I will eliminate them without mercy. The moment he finished speaking, the crowd erupted in admiration. At that moment, Gao Changkong glanced toward the back of the room and spotted Zhang Yi. To Zhang Yi's surprise, Gao Changkong actively greeted him. Even Zhang Yi himself was taken aback. No one in the room had expected this. As soon as Zhang Yi and his team arrived at the conference hall, Bailey Changqing quickly followed. Upon spotting Zhang Yi, he hurried over and greeted him. My dear Captain Zhang, why are you sitting so far back? Zhang Yi gave an awkward smile. Well, I'm just an outer city mutant. There's no way I'd get a front row seat, right? Bailey Changqing laughed, throwing an arm around Zhang Yi's shoulder. That's just how things are. There's always a strict hierarchy in every era. Even someone as strong as Gao Changkong, just because he comes from Blizzard City's lower class, some people still look down on him. Zhang Yi waved his hand dismissively. I don't care. As long as they're happy, whatever. But who do you think General Zhu will pick to lead this mission? Bailey Changqing sat down next to Zhang Yi and analyzed the situation. Both of them have submitted formal requests for command. But looking at the current situation, I think Reincarnation Squad has the better chance. Blizzard City's security depends on the Swallow Cloud Guardian. Tu Yunlai, as the Minister of Swallow Cloud Guardian, is extremely powerful and has rich command experience, but he's also responsible for protecting the high-ranking officials. Sending him out of Blizzard City would be too risky. So, if I had to choose one, I'd definitely go with Gao Changkong. At that moment, Yang Xinxin suddenly spoke in a calm, icy tone. Why does it have to be one or the other? Bailey Changqing glanced at Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin. His meaningful smile froze for a second. Then he suddenly realized he had completely overlooked Zhang Yi. He let out an awkward chuckle. I know Zhang Yi isn't the type for this. If it were up to him, he wouldn't even be here. He'd rather be lounging at home. Besides, Blizzard City is notoriously xenophobic. As an outer city mutant, there's no way you'd be put in command. Just then, Zhu Jing entered the hall, flanked by Kong Lushuan and Wan Xinqing. The room fell silent immediately. Both Tu Yunlai and Gao Changkong had eager expressions. They were determined to win command of this mission. Zhu Jing first analyzed the failures of the last two Eclipsed Moon operations before quickly summarizing the key takeaways from both battles. Then, he suddenly shifted the topic and began introducing Zhang Yi. In the second siege operation, I want to highlight one person in particular, that is Zhang Yi from Heavenly Sea City. He single-handedly took down 4 Eclipsed Moon members, preserving River South Domain's honor. So, I have decided to integrate the Heavenly God Squad and Black Robe Squad into a new temporary investigation team, the Heavenly Dog Squad, and I am appointing Zhang Yi as its captain. As soon as these words were spoken, the hall erupted into murmurs. However, most people weren't too shocked after all. Zhang Yi's accomplishments were undeniable. Giving him a captain's position was only logical. But what came next made many people uneasy, because Zhu Jing never once mentioned Tu Yunlai or Gao Changkong. Instead, he kept focusing on Zhang Yi, praising his exceptional talent, even emphasizing, for the protection of high-level combat personnel, Zhang Yi will henceforth be referred to as Chaos instead of his real name. Bailey Changqing immediately sensed something unusual. His heart skipped a beat. Is General Zhu seriously making Zhang Yi the mission's commander? Sure enough, in the next second, Zhu Jing officially announced, after careful consideration, I have decided in the upcoming operation, the Heavenly Dog Squad will serve as the primary strike force. The Reincarnation Squad will support the Heavenly Dog Squad, and Zhang Yi will be the highest commander of this battlefield. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire conference hall erupted in chaos. What's going on? An outer city mutant as the commander-in-chief of this operation? What qualifications does he have? In terms of tactics or strength, how does he compare to Gao Changkong or Tu Yunlai? This decision is way too reckless. However, some people were quietly considering, but he did kill 4 Eclipsed Moon members. His strength should be legitimate. Tu Yunlai was initially shocked, but he quickly regained his composure. On the other hand, over at Gao Changkong's side, Ji Yushin looked absolutely furious. Who the hell does he think he is? How is he even qualified to be our commander? Ji Yushin muttered angrily under his breath. However, Gao Changkong simply shook his head and sighed. If General Zhu made this decision, he must have his reasons. This Zhang Yi, there's something special about him. Zhang Yi, on the other hand, looked completely unfazed by the announcement. After all, Zhu Zheng and Deng Yuanbo had already discussed this with him beforehand. The one who looked completely dumbfounded was Bailey Chongqing. He had never expected this outcome. At that moment, Zhu Zheng turned to Zhang Yi. Captain Zhang Yi, come up and say a few words. Under the gaze of the entire hall, Zhang Yi walked up to the stage. He took the microphone, stood tall, and spoke with conviction. I won't say much. Since General Zhu has placed his trust in me, I will do my utmost to eliminate these wicked Ronin, to uphold the honor of River South Domain and Country Hua, and to restore the glory of our people. This is my duty, and I will not shrink from it. One more thing from now on, during operations, refer to me by my title. Do not use my real name. My code name is Chaos. After the meeting ended, Zhu Jing pulled Zhang Yi aside for a private discussion. There are some details we still need to talk about. Zhang Yi nodded. Did we receive any intel on Eclipsed Moon? Zhu Jing shook his head. After they disappeared, there's been no trace of them. We suspect they've left the mainland and returned to Fluorescent to recruit more fighters. Zhang Yi frowned. If that's the case, this is going to be a huge problem. Zhu Jing spoke in a serious tone. That's their home turf, and with all the chaos they've stirred up here, their influence in Fluorescent has likely skyrocketed. They might even gain support from the landing faction. As he spoke, Zhu Jing patted Zhang Yi's shoulder, his eyes filled with expectation. For now, take this time to get familiar with your squad. Make sure your teammates respect and trust you. We're also going to build you up as a hero. The hope of River South Domain is now in your hands, but don't feel too pressured. We have thorough preparations in place. If necessary, Tu Yunlai and the Swallow Cloud Guardians will also take action. Zhang Yi was stunned. Even the Swallow Cloud Guardians are being mobilized? But what about Blizzard City's defense? Xu Jing replied firmly. There are no enemies within the domain. We have already made full preparations. This is not something you need to worry about. Zhang Yi wasn't worried about Blizzard City's defense at all. Instead, he thought to himself, with our Heavenly Dog Squad, plus Reincarnation Squad, and now even the Swallow Cloud Guardians, there's almost no chance of losing this battle. Meanwhile, in the first floor lounge of the operations center, Gao Changkong, his girlfriend Gu Man, and Bailey Chongqing were having tea together. Vice Captain Ji Yushin was still bitter about the mission's leadership, so Gao Changkong had sent him away for now. Bailey Chongqing sighed and said to Gao Changkong, in terms of ability, you are more suitable than Zhang Yi to lead this mission. But Gao Changkong smiled and shook his head, completely unbothered. Headquarters must have their reasons for making this decision. General Zhu wouldn't gamble with the safety of the entire domain, right? So no matter who's in charge, I'll do my best to cooperate. Bailey Chongqing grinned. It's just a title, really. Zhang Yi will definitely have to rely on you. But at that moment, Gu Man spoke up with discontent in her voice. But this title is actually very important. She understood very well. This title determined who could enter Blizzard City's inner circle of power. Bailey Chongqing awkwardly chuckled. All I can say is, Zhang Yi isn't interested in titles or status. He has no desire to join Blizzard City's power structure. Gao Changkong took a slow sip of tea, his expression meaningful. Maybe that's exactly why General Zhu chose him. At that moment, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin came downstairs. Bailey Chongqing immediately waved at them. Zhang Yi wasn't sure what kind of attitude Gao Changkong and Gu Man would have. Would they be indifferent, or would they hold a grudge? But since they were now teammates, there was no avoiding working together. So he took the initiative and greeted them. Captain Gao, Miss Gu, we meet again. Gao Changkong stood up politely and extended his hand. Zhang Yi, congratulations on becoming the Heavenly Dog Squad captain. From now on, we're teammates. Let's work well together. Seeing Gao Changkong's friendly attitude, Zhang Yi naturally shook his hand. I'm just a temporary captain. Once this mission is over, I'll step down. I'll be counting on your guidance, Captain Gao. At that moment, Gao Changkong made a suggestion. Let's grab a meal together later. It will be a good chance to discuss our cooperation moving forward. Zhang Yi had no reason to refuse. At the restaurant, after sitting down, Gao Changkong got straight to the point and explained his intentions. Captain Zhang, I already got some intel from General Zhu. Among Eclipsed Moon's mutants, there's someone who can predict the future, but you can block their ability. I think this is a great opening for us, so I hope that during our operation, you can provide support in this area. Zhang Yi nodded. That's no problem at all. However, my strength is mainly in defense, and my personal style is more cautious. I assume General Zhu put me in charge for that reason. My main role is to block their precognition abilities. When it comes to actual combat, we'll still be relying on you. Speaking of which, we don't fully know each other's abilities yet. Let me start by introducing mine. Zhang Yi was a bit surprised Gao Changkong was actually willing to reveal his ability. For mutants, their powers were their most guarded secret, something even close family members might never know. But Gao Changkong simply spoke openly. My ability is reincarnation. Death triggers reincarnation. Whenever I die, I return to a point before my death. As for how far back I can go, that's a secret. But the key thing is, I can't be killed, and by using reincarnation, I can gather intelligence that allows me to always turn the tide in battle. Zhang Yi let out a long sigh. Another immortal ability. Ha! He thought to himself, these squad captains, each one is more of a monster than the last. Gao Changkong smiled at Zhang Yi. In a way, my ability also counters their precognition. I can probe their abilities before dying, then choose the best counter when I reincarnate. However, I can only activate my ability once per day. Zhang Yi then gave a brief explanation of his own ability. My ability is pretty simple. I use spatial manipulation to transfer damage and store objects. With both sides now familiar with each other's powers, the atmosphere at dinner was pleasant. This was also Gao Changkong's way of showing that he held no grudges over losing command, and not just to Zhang Yi, but also to Blizzard City's high command, a clear political statement. After dinner, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin returned to their villa. Zhang Yi seemed distracted, which prompted Yang Xinxin to ask, "Brother, are you thinking about Gao Changkong's ability?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "I just find it fascinating. I keep wondering, how far back can his Death Trigger's reincarnation go? Think about it. If he keeps using this ability, he'll end up with far more time than anyone else. If he can see future events, he could accomplish almost anything. Even if he only used it to train, he could still become a top-tier fighter. It's like exploiting a time glitch. And on top of that, he was already a basketball star with an elite physique." But Yang Xinxin suddenly said, "Brother, do you really believe his ability is exactly as he described it? I find it odd. Can a human really reverse the timeline of the world? If what he said is completely true, then he could endlessly manipulate history within a one-day loop. That would be beyond human ability. It would enter the realm of gods." Her words immediately pulled Zhang Yi's thoughts back to his own rebirth. He murmured to himself and nodded. Maybe it really is possible. Maybe his potential isn't just Delta level. Who knows? But there was no point overthinking it now. For now, I need to meet with my squad. I have to train the Heavenly Dog Squad, and in 3 days, I need to pick up Liang Yu. I wonder how she's doing right now. 3 days later, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin returned to Deng's garden. He was eager to see just how much Liang Yu had improved. Soon, they saw her. She was dressed in a sleek combat outfit, her aura sharper than before. There was an undeniable presence about her. She had clearly grown stronger. Just how powerful was the enhanced Liang Yu? The moment Yang Xinxin saw her, she rushed forward excitedly. "Teacher Liang, are you okay?" Liang Yu smiled and nodded. "I feel great right now. I really have to thank Mr. Deng for his help." Zhang Yi thought to himself, it seems like Liang Yu's strength has improved tremendously. He then smiled at Deng Yuanbo. "Thank you so much, Mr. Deng." Deng Yuanbo gave a calm smile. "No need to be polite. This was our agreement. As long as Eclipsed Moon is dealt with, we all benefit. My team also has several people who need enhancements. Do you think we could?" At that moment, the butler couldn't help but interject. "Mr. Zhang, you may not realize just how many resources are required to enhance a mutant, and not everyone can withstand the process." Deng Yuanbo also explained, "While I can't promise they'll undergo the same level of transformation as Miss Liang, we can at least optimize their bodies and give them a slight boost in strength." Zhang Yi smirked slightly. "I was just asking casually. No need to trouble yourselves. Let's just collaborate again in the future." With that, he prepared to leave. At that moment, Deng Yuanbo took out a golden brooch. He handed it to Zhang Yi and said, "This was Deng Shintong's personal keepsake. Take it with you. It might help you gain the trust of your Heavenly Dog Squad members." Zhang Yi responded politely, "Uncle Deng, you really think of everything." However, in Zhang Yi's mind, it's just taming a few subordinates. I don't need sentimental objects for that. Back at the villa, as soon as they returned, Zhang Yi couldn't wait to ask, "So, what exactly was the Deng family's experiment like? And what level has your strength reached now?" Liang Yu recalled the experience. "The experiment was incredible. They put me inside a transparent glass chamber. At first, they injected me with multiple unknown drugs. Then, they performed some strange procedures. The entire process felt like I was being reborn. Literally reborn. Even my blood and organs underwent visible changes. If I hadn't had a strong body or a firm will, I probably wouldn't have survived the experiment. I might have died. Or worse, lost my mind." Yang Xinxin couldn't help but lean in closer. "Teacher Liang, that must have been so painful." To Yang Xinxin, who had always respected her kind and selfless teacher, this was heartbreaking. But Liang Yu shook her head. "This was my own choice. They even warned me beforehand. But even though the process was excruciating, the gains were enormous. I feel like I've become a race car, fully fueled up and ready to push the engine to its limits." Hearing this, Zhang Yi's lips curled into a mischievous grin. "Well, if you want to test your new power, how about we find you some opponents and see just how strong you've become?" Zhang Yi immediately notified all Heavenly Dog Squad members, "Be at the training ground tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp." The next morning, at exactly 9 a.m., the 6 members of Black Robe Squad had already arrived on time. Wu Di and the others looked at Zhang Yi, their expressions full of mixed emotions. Not long ago, Zhang Yi was just a leader in Heavenly Sea City, and now, he was their commander. Zhang Yi noticed that the 3 members of Heavenly God Squad were still missing. Immediately, he understood what was going on. Those 3 punks are deliberately showing their defiance by skipping roll call. Their information flashed through Zhang Yi's mind. Then, he turned to Bailey Changqing and asked, "Bailey Changqing, what's the standard punishment for being late in the investigation squads?" Bailey Changqing grinned mischievously. According to the rules, a major demerit is recorded, and the offender must apologize publicly before the entire team. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, his tone meaningful. That sounds pretty serious. Alright, let's follow the rules and give all three of them a major demerit. The Black Robe squad members looked on with schadenfreude. They all knew 2 major demerits meant expulsion from the investigation squads. But just then, an icy voice called out from nearby, "We're not late." Up on the second floor of the training ground, 3 men stood arrogantly, looking down at the group below. The leader smirked with contempt. "So, you are Chaos, huh? If no one told me, I'd have thought that was a dumpling shop name. Not only is your name laughably bad, but your methods are childish too. Throwing out demerits just because you feel like it? You think we're scared of that crap?" The 2 men beside him burst into mocking laughter. Zhang Yi remained unmoved. He simply turned back to Bailey Chongqing. "Just follow the regulations. They're late." The 3 men's expressions changed instantly. A mere outer city mutant who got lucky enough to become a temporary captain, and he dares to disrespect the former members of Heavenly God Squad? "Oi, what the hell? We're right here." Zhang Yi glanced at the clock and replied calmly, "I don't see you standing in line, so you don't count. There are 10 seconds left. If you're not in formation by then, don't bother showing up ever again." 10, 9, 8, 7. These Heavenly God Squad deadweights really think they can pull this crap? If I don't put them in their place, they won't know who's in charge. At that moment, the 3 men's faces darkened. Xue Miao immediately grabbed Yi He and Lu Winghao, and in an instant, they appeared in front of Zhang Yi. Yi crossed his arms, his face full of defiance. "Chaos, what's with the power trip? First day on the job, and you're already throwing your weight around. Pretty impressive, huh? But honestly, I don't think you're qualified to be our captain." Yi sneered. "Do you even know about the investigation squad rule? A squad captain must accept challenges from their subordinates. If the captain loses, they forfeit their position. And guess what? This challenge can't be refused." Zhang Yi stared at the 3 of them, his cold gaze sharp as a blade. He thought to himself, if I can't even handle these 3 rookies, how the hell am I supposed to lead them into battle against Eclipsed Moon? Since you're so eager to die, I might as well grant your wish. I won't even bully you. You 3 can come at me together. Time is precious, so let's settle it right here. No need to waste time going to the combat arena. Hearing this, the others immediately cleared out of the training ground. Bailey Chongqing was a little worried. He knew Zhang Yi was strong, but if those 3 worked together flawlessly, there was no guarantee of an easy win. But Liang Yu simply smirked and said calmly, "Relax. Zhang Yi never fights a battle he's not completely sure of winning. Just sit back and enjoy the show." At that moment, Lu Winghao, the poison doctor, thrust his hands into the backs of his 2 teammates. As a specialized mutant, his ability instantly enhanced their physical bodies. Their movement speed, reflexes, and perception all surged several levels higher. Zhang Yi, however, remained calm. He slowly pulled out his pistol. In reality, his void boundary had already activated, forming an impenetrable defense around him. At that moment, Xue Miao, now fully enhanced, drew a dagger. As a projection-type ability user, his codename was Windwalker. He wielded the power of storms and specialized in assassination. With the howling wind at his back, he instantly appeared behind Zhang Yi, his dagger slashing toward Zhang Yi's spine. Yet Zhang Yi didn't even react. He stood there motionless, as if he hadn't noticed the attack at all. But the next moment, the dagger plunged into empty space, along with Xue Miao's entire arm, which had been swallowed by Zhang Yi's spatial void. At that very instant, the cold barrel of a pistol pressed against the back of Xue Miao's head, and then, bang! The shot missed on purpose. Just a warning. Xue Miao instantly backed off, retreating over 10 meters. His face was pale with shock, his eyes locked onto Zhang Yi with undisguised fear. He thought that he had dodged that shot with his own skill, but in reality, he had just realized Zhang Yi's spatial ability. As an assassin, his greatest strengths were speed and unpredictable movement, the key to his one-hit kill technique, but spatial abilities just so happened to be the perfect counter to someone like him. After repelling Xue Miao with a single shot, Zhang Yi casually said with one hand in his pocket, "This shot was just a warning, you know." Xue Miao immediately conveyed her thoughts to the other 2. "This guy's abilities are bizarre. Not only can he absorb all my attacks, but the aura from that other dimension frightens me." Upon hearing Xue Miao's description, Lu Winghao spoke gravely, "Let me give it a try." With that, he pulled out a dagger and swiftly slashed his own palm. Instantly, a mist of blood filled the air and swept towards Zhang Yi with the gust of a hurricane. Zhang Yi, however, remained completely unfazed and drew 2 guns, firing wildly. After all, with precision shooting enhancing his aim, missing them intentionally was quite a challenge. The trio quickly dodged. Fortunately, their reflexes were sharp enough thanks to the adrenaline boost from the poison doctor, Lu Winghao. While dodging, Yi continued to look for Zhang Yi's weaknesses. The shadows under his feet flickered and shifted like a lurking evil spirit. Bailey Chongqing, watching the scene from the stage, shook his head in resignation. These 3 clueless fools. If they knew Zhang Yi's ability is absolute defense, they wouldn't foolishly challenge him. They're literally serving themselves up to Zhang Yi on a platter. In the Heavenly God Squad, Xue Miao is a melee assassin who utilizes storm powers, and poison Dr. Lu Winghao's blood, upon contact with an opponent, instantly turns them into a puddle of mud. But he never gets a chance to touch Zhang Yi. The strongest is Yi Yi. Within a range of 300 meters, appears. He can switch places with shadows and physical entities at will. Theoretically, he's also an assassin. Facing the absolute defense of Zhang Yi, they are merely 3 moving targets. Zhang Yi's precision shooting could kill them with his eyes closed. At this moment, Yi was also aware. Just dodging Zhang Yi's bullets was almost depleting all his strength, and the effects of the adrenaline were about to wear off. Lu Winghao's enhanced ability is akin to a stimulant, the cost being extreme weakness once the effects were off. And at that moment, in Zhang Yi's eyes, they appeared as 3 monkeys, awkwardly hopping and jumping around. Liang Yu, witnessing this, felt a bit helpless. Zhang Yi is unleashing a Pacific Ocean's worth of water here. It's like an adult toying with 3 mischievous children. She even started to feel a bit sorry for these 3 naive guys. After several rounds of bullets, as the effects of the adrenaline started to wane, Shui Miao was the first to be hit. A holy silver bullet pierced through his leg, and he crashed to the ground. At the same time, Zhang Yi fired another shot near his ear. Shui Miao was almost scared to pee himself. No, Captain, I give up. Lu Winghao, as the weakest member, promptly raised both hands to surrender. Yi, still stubbornly holding on, cursed through gritted teeth. Useless thing. He used shadows to switch positions at will, dodging round after round of Zhang Yi's fire. Even Zhang Yi couldn't help but admire him. Truly a mid-tier member of the Heavenly God Squad. You do have some skills. At that moment, Yi also declared, Zhang Yi, you're just exploiting the rules to gain the upper hand. If we were really on a battlefield, I might not be able to beat you, but you wouldn't be able to beat me either. At best, we're at a stalemate. What would you do if I decided to flee now? Facing the stubborn Yi, Zhang Yi silently holstered his pistol. He had initially planned to resolve the issue in a normal human manner, but all he received in return was Yi's arrogance. Since that was the case, he no longer hid his power. At that moment, Zhang Yi's right eye began to gather blue light, and an aura of death instantly enveloped Yi, causing cold sweat to stream down his forehead. Hastily using his shadow, Yi retreated to 300 meters away, but by then, he was already locked on by Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's right eye suddenly widened, and the space in front of his vision began to warp, silently blasting a huge hole in the training ground's wall, while Yi stood there stunned as the Grim Reaper brushed past him. Zhang Yi asked teasingly, do you want to continue? At that moment, Yi's mind went blank, and a thought emerged. My god, how foolish was I to challenge Zhang Yi? Facing such a terrifying level of pressure, he realized that even Deng Shintong might not be as strong as Zhang Yi. At this time, Wu Di on the stage was laughing like a pig, slapping Bailey Changqing's shoulder and laughing wildly, pointing at Yi's head. Look at Yi's head. He's almost bald, ha ha ha. Only then did Yi suddenly realize a large chunk of his hair was missing, and he immediately broke down shouting. In Blizzard City, he was a well-known figure with many female fans. Zhang Yi then looked at Lu Winghao and said, take these 2 guys for treatment. Lu Winghao immediately bowed respectfully. Captain Zhang. Zhang Yi gave him a look. This kid was quick to change his tune. Meanwhile, Yi was still dejectedly slumped on the ground, looking utterly disheartened. Zhang Yi had not a trace of sympathy, only saying sternly, from now on, you can choose to leave the Heavenly Dog Squad at any time. Bailey Changqing then stepped forward, helping Yi up and consoling him. The moves you just made were quite cool. Don't be sad. I know a doctor who is very skilled in hair transplantation. At this time, the members of the Black Robe Squad looked at Zhang Yi with more reverence. Zhang Yi had become much stronger than when they first met, especially his unrivaled defensive power, which likely even Epsilon-level opponents would find hard to break. Zhang Yi stated bluntly, although the Heavenly Dog Squad is just a temporary team, as long as this team exists, I am the captain for a day. Anyone who makes me unhappy, I will make sure they are even less happy. The Heavenly God Squad lost 8 people in the campaign against Eclipsed Moon. You don't think you are much stronger than them, do you? So, if you don't want to die, face the upcoming challenges with the utmost seriousness. Everyone present stood up straight and answered in unison, yes, Captain. Zhang Yi continued, but I also don't encourage you to charge in blindly and sacrifice your lives needlessly. My abilities lean towards defense, and so does my personality, so I will also try my best to ensure everyone's safety in battle. He looked at Bailey Changqing. Next, I hope Vice Captain Bailey can strengthen the team members' training coordination with absolutely no slack. After speaking, Zhang Yi walked up to Bailey Changqing and said in a low voice, as for the 3 of us, you need to give some private lessons. After all, as the captain, I'm definitely not as combat savvy as the Black Robe Squad, and Liang Yu and Yang Xinxin are the same. Let Bailey Changqing give them special training. It can definitely bring them gains. Then, Zhang Yi gave Bailey Changqing a nudge and whispered something in his ear. Bailey Changqing looked towards Liang Yu somewhat surprised, then slowly nodded his head, and then said to the others, go ahead to your training, I've got some other things to take care of. As the investigation team leader, Zhang Yi now has the authority to activate the combat arena. The arena quickly turned into a huge area with a radius of 5 kilometers. However, since it was an experiment, both participants' weapons were blunt and unsharpened. As soon as the battle started, the 2 combatants immediately resembled ancient monsters fighting, terrifying in their ferocity. While Zhang Yi was intently watching the battle, intelligence provided by the arena suddenly appeared before them. The holographic screen displayed the combat data of the 2. Liang Liang Yu, an enhancer with an ability index of 6,800 points. Bailey Changqing, an enhancer with an ability index of 7,200 points. Zhang Yi was somewhat surprised, but he quickly understood that this must be data left from his last battle with Wu Di, but he had not revealed his true strength in that fight. Bailey Changqing and Liang Yu fought for a long time without determining a winner. Although both were holding back and not fighting to the death, this was enough to prove that Liang Yu's strength had greatly improved. She can now fight on par with a vice captain. The two tacitly ended the battle, and Bailey Changqing exclaimed, "If it weren't for the major region's cultivation, I definitely wouldn't be Liang Yu's match." Zhang Yi was also secretly pleased, thinking that he finally had a capable assistant by his side. After Bailey Changqing left, Zhang Yi specifically asked Liang Yu, "How did it feel to spar with Bailey Changqing? Do you think you could win against him?" Liang Yu did not answer directly, only holding the blunt knife and saying indifferently, "The knife isn't right." The next day during training, the fully recovered Yi and his two companions found Zhang Yi. They bowed at a 90-degree angle towards Zhang Yi. "Please forgive our rudeness yesterday. We hope to join the Heavenly Dog Squad and avenge Captain Deng and the teammates of the Heavenly God Squad." They also handed over a thick stack of reflection papers. "We wrote these reflection papers overnight. Please forgive us, Captain." Zhang Yi had no interest in reading their reflection papers, simply stating sternly, "During missions, to achieve victory, I might not hesitate to sacrifice your lives. Are you sure you want to join?" The three immediately stood up straight and shouted in unison, "As long as we can eliminate Eclipsed Moon and avenge our brothers, we are willing to give our lives." Zhang Yi ultimately decided to let Yi and the others join the squad. After all, their ability types and combat strength were quite good, and they would definitely be useful against Eclipsed Moon.